It needs almost a daytime for me to deliberate. Loans, advances, investment, deposits. Only few things are left out in the Companies Act. I'm happy to take this topic, little challenging also. And more than slide, in fact, I wanted you to take two sections so that you will have opportunity to appreciate the provisions of the Companies Act, how it's drafted and how it should be understood and what is the real impact of the provisions of the Companies Act. By bringing the whole provisions into PowerPoint, in fact, we are compromising the real intent of the legislation. And we are undermining the real purpose of the law also by bringing PPT. But of course, for understanding sake, we have to bring it in a point. Probably at the end, I want you to take you through a few sections which I am going to deal with. The topic allotted to me, section 185, which talks about loan to directors, section 186, which talks about no longer intercorporate loans that we will discuss shortly. It's no longer intercorporate loans, section 180, and about the borrowings. And I want you to take you through 73 to 77, which nobody would have patiently would have given one reading of those sections, word by word. Then we would have understood what is the real impact of those deposit sections. I will try to take you through those provisions when time permits. At the end, quickly I will take you through the provisions of the sections in the Act. Of course, we need not to go into deep of the rule, but it's sufficient. If we understand the provisions of the Act itself, we can understand at least 75% of the intent of the legislation. In fact, I will take you through to my slide. The flow of presentation going to be borrowing, loan to directors, loans and investments, and deposits. In fact, borrowing enough deliberated by previous speaker. I'll try to speed up. Pardon me if I'm little speed. You can stop me if you want to understand something. I have a lot more to cover. And borrowing we enough deliberated in the previous session also. And next focus will be loan to directors and loans and investments and end deposits. Borrowings, not so big difference is there. In fact, earlier section 293, which deals with borrowings and sale deeds and other things, whole stuff now brought into section 180. Of course, a draft notification which is expected soon. It's diluting further section 180, which is applicable only to the private company which is having shareholders more than 50 and above. To the private company which is having shareholders 50 and less, provision of section 180 is not applicable. But those companies which is having more than 50 shareholders, they have to pass a ordinary resolution. In fact, special resolution now, earlier it was ordinary resolution, now it became a special resolution. When the limit of the borrowing exceeds the paid up capital and free reserve. And not so much to discuss on this particular topic. Reason being, almost similar what is there in the old 293, almost copy pasted, except one or two changes that they have made it in borrowing provisions. In fact, in the previous session also, it's deliberated debt incurred by a company in excess of the limit imposed, that whose responsibility, whether the bank is, they have to, whether we have those funds, if they have not taken proper notice of the limit is exceeded. And one of my friends also is raised the point that is doctrine of constructive notice. Dear friend, this provision is already there in the old company in 1956. Thing is, we are not ready there. We are not given that much attention in the old act. Now we are reading everything in the new act. This also looks new. This is already there in the old act, 1956. The idea being that they wanted the financial institution banks also give a reasonable care before they give the money to the lender. Though it is a responsibility of the company to comply the provisions to ensure that they are properly complying the provisions of the act and following the process prescribed by the act before they are taking loan to the bank. But on the other side, they are also giving the responsibility, whether it is legally valid, it's different. Whether the company law can give a responsibility to the bank, which is not not completely coming within the purview of the Act. They have got their different Act also. Few banks only cover coming under the Provisional Companies Act, but still they want to bring it to ensure that bank also giving a proper attention to these particular aspects. And moving to this is the usual thing which is already defined under the old Act itself. Same thing. All these and all temporary loan, these and all coming out of the purview of the that limit which is prescribed by the capital free zone, and temporary loan comes out of the purview of those limit. And default in repayment, of course, buyback will be restricted, and issue of equity share with the differential rights will be restricted. Why I quickly moved on to borrowing, we have so many other topics to discuss more, which is more important also rather. And it was a burning issue when September 12, 2014, when the Companies Act 13 has come notified among the 92 sections. One important section got notified is section 185. In fact, everybody were worried, and in fact, most of the representation of the chambers, corporate, and even professional bodies of one of the important sections is 185, which they want to dilute, because it's completely taken away the freedom of the corporate in terms of giving loan to the directors and to the person who is interested. We will see what are those categories, what persons those interested. In fact, here the idea of prohibiting enough described the Companies Law, how the Companies Act 2013 has got emerged. Of course, the Companies Act, rather we should say, the Companies Act, we can list out a few corporates which have done so much in the last few years. And Company Act 2013 is nothing but what are the mishappenings all put together has come out at the Companies Act 2013. And we can have many saga to quote. In fact, every one of us aware of it. There is nothing to discuss more about those sagas which made these Companies Act 2013 so stringent. Now, after so much representation from the industry and professional body, the government has considered, I think they are coming out with the draft notifications. They are going to come out with a notification to exempt companies, private companies, to comply with this provision of section 185. And there also they are not planning to exempt all the private companies. Probably that notification had to take effect. It had to take effect. Now it's in a draft stage. Soon we may expect it's coming to effect. But it's not exempting all the private companies. In fact, it is exempting only the companies which has not taken loan from the bank, not more than twice its paid up capital. That means a company which is having 10 lakhs capital, if they would have taken 20 lakhs loan from the bank, more than 20 lakhs, those companies will not get this exemption. They are again slightly falling back to the loan to the directors or restriction under section 185. And again, they made it very clear in the draft notification that that provision is not, that exemption is not applicable to the company where body corporate investment is there. In fact, the language body corporate they used looks, in fact, even if LLP is invested also, I think they will be losing the exemption. Because it's not saying that company, it says body corporate. Where the investment of body corporate is there in a particular company, then body corporate, in fact, everybody we are aware that everything it includes, except 3-4 items it excludes, corporate society and corporations and all that. Otherwise, everything under the sky will be included in the body corporate. We have to be very careful, before we give some certificate or report or we do audit in the company, where we should not see only whether the investment is done by the public company or private company. No, it uses the word body corporate. We have to be very careful when the word body corporate is used. Right. Now, I am seeing this perspective, money can be borrowed by the company from corporate and from individual also. That law only the PPT has been prepared. Where the money can also be taken from director and employee. Of course, when the money is given by director, then he has to give a declaration that he is not taken the money as a loan from outside. And with that declaration only money can be accepted by the company. And the money can be received from employee also, but it should not be more than the annual salary. I don't know the logic of it. In fact, we will be deliberating this particular aspect in the subsequent slide in detail. And loan to shareholder, needless to say, this is the forum where you would have done a research on deemed dividend. Once a loan is given to the shareholder, it's slightly fall under the income tax 222 dividend as a deemed dividend, subject to the conditions prescribed therein. Just so I want to highlight those points so that it should not miss out. And now we are going to the main portion of the loan to directors 185, where it starts with like this: a companies shall not directly, indirectly advance any loan. So it says, including any loan represented by book debts. Is it a new provision that has come out now? Now already there is a section called 296 under the old act. Already there is a provision where it very clearly says anything recorded in the books of accounts right from the inception of the entry, if it is recorded as a book debts in the form of loan or loan in the form of book debts, right from the inception into the books of the account, that will be deemed as a loan. In fact, one thing I wanted to share here, I was searching the entire Companies Act, there is no definition for the loan. In fact, somebody come across also, you can share with me. I have searched Act, rule and everywhere for various reasons. Even for deposit also, we need to understand what is loan. To understand section 185 also, we need to understand what is loan. Even to understand intercorporate loan, intercorporate investment, there also we need to understand what is loan. But unfortunately, there is no specification, there is no definition, there is no reference what is meant by loan. Under the deposit rule, it says any amount received is loan. And section 185, which prohibits giving loan to the director, is not defined. Section 186, which says how the investment shall be given, that also silent about definition about loan. So we can't take shelter under any of the interpretation or definition when the question comes loan, because there is no definition as of now in place under the provisions of Companies Act 2013. And advance, and another important thing, there is no specification what is advance. The same language is used in the list of the item which is exempted as a deposit. There also there is a reference has come, a money received as an advance. There is no clarity what is mean by advance. But there are three scenarios prescribed. Under those scenarios only, those amount will disqualify to be exempted deposits. Otherwise, there is no clarity on the advance. So, as far as loan and advance, we have to be very careful when we use this terminology in our financial statements or report whatever we are providing. And there is a prohibition to give loan to the directors by the private company unless the draft notification has come into effect. As of now, it is prohibited. Right from September 12, 2013, a private company is prohibited to give, whether it's a private or public. Of course, after that rule has come from the effect from 1/4/2014, saying that it is exempting a private company or public company giving loan to its only one subsidiary. As our previous speaker very correctly pointed out, there was no specification under section 185 that something will be prescribed later. Nothing is there in the section. We were surprised that with what authority as ministry has come out. Of course, as long as they are diluting, we should not noise out anything. As it is, we are trying to get some exemption for the entire Companies Act. So we should not question how it has come now. Then again they will take back, then we have to pay again. And we have to line up all organization again. So now the position would be that before the draft notification becomes effective, now the position, whether it's a private company or public company, as long as it is giving the loan to its only one subsidiary, the provision of section 185 is not applicable. Otherwise, providing loan is prohibited. Whether it's a loan or security or guarantee, all is prohibited. And to any other person in whom director is interested, there's a big list is going on. And not only the advance loan, we have to be very careful in the language. What is advance? What is loan? As I already told you, there is no specification under the Act. What is guarantee? Of course, we have to take a clue from Contract Act. Security, same we have to take a clue from Contract Act or Transfer of Property Act. Nothing there in the Companies Act to say what is security. So we have to be very careful with this four terminology called loan, advance, guarantee and security. Because the same is going to get applied under section 186 when the question comes, when how the company can make investment, what is the procedure needs to be followed. And these are the to any other person whom director is interested. One is individual, and second is firm, and third is company, and fourth is body corporate. And how individual is prohibited? Individual, a director of the lending company, and director of the holding company, any partner of a director or a lady of a director. This is on individual perspective. On individual perspective, I think it's not getting elaborated. Well, I'll take you through the PPT. This is PDF they put. And now, individual perspective, director of the lending company, director of the holding company. Please understand here, director of subsidiary company is missing. That means, is it permitted to give loan to director of subsidiary company? So the prohibition is there, director of the lending company and director of the holding company and director of subsidiary company is paired here. We have to wait and see what is the logic of behind it. And partner of the director is restricted in case of firm, and relative of such director is also prohibited. So company cannot offer to this first column of the person who is appearing in the first column. And second is firm. Same way to any firm which director is a partner, nothing doing. And firm same way relative is a partner, fine. And nothing can be done unless draft notification has become effective. The corporate can't imagine giving loan to anyone, and except it is only one subsidy. So we have to wait and see really when the notification comes into effect. And company, if it is the director of the company or member of company, that itself is prohibited. And any company, same way, as I told you, it should not be a director, neither a director nor a member. And body corporate, of course, there is a word always is there, accustomed to act. In fact, we are not able to understand even in 1956 Act itself, how to mean it actually. In fact, more than majority of the board is there, accustomed to act. And there are so many chains of companies will be operating through so many links. And it is very difficult to prove that whether this company is accustomed to act. He will say, no, I'm not accustomed to act. I will do something different what he says. We can't take it, that proposition to bring it, some provision to scope. In fact, this is probably drafted for the benefit of the ministry. Any body corporate where general meeting 25% is controlled, there also the loan should not be given. This is the whole idea of section 185, where unless the draft notification comes into effect, nothing can be done by the company with respect to giving of loan, advances, guarantee, security. We should forget. We have to really wait for the notification to come. And we have to wait and see whether the notification is going to come with the retrospective effect or with the prospective effect. In case the notification comes with the prospective effect, the transaction already undergone, the company which has already performed those transactions, but still it will be treated as a violation. That's a matter of question. I am not able to find any of the reference in the notification, draft notification which is about to come. Probably they said they will bring it out soon. But there is no reference that when it is applicable, whether retrospective effect right from September 12 or from June, July onwards or July onwards. Then in that case, from September to July, we will be compelled or we have been compelled to follow the provisions of section 185, whereby we have been prohibited to extend the loan. So all our balance sheet which is ending on 31/3/2014 should not have that entry providing giving loan to the following person, those who are deemed as an interested person under the provisions of section 185. We have to wait and see. It is not sufficient bringing a draft notification, giving prospective effective. Otherwise, most of the company probably would have done the transaction, would have get caught. They will get caught when the financial year ending 31/3/2014, getting finalized, they will be into trouble. If it comes with the retrospective effect, then we will be relaxed. And this is a two exemption. I don't know who is going to really use this exemption. There should be a scheme to the managing director and whole-time director to give loan. So that should be offered to all managing director and whole-time director. Then the board will be benefited. Probably if it's a family company, they can make all the person as a managing director, whole-time director, and they can create the scheme and they can do because the law permits us to do that. and it should be part of the service condition that they extended. That should be there in the appointment letter, nothing else. And again, as I told you that a company which is in ordinary course of business, language, ordinary course and normal course of business and arm's length, all these I really don't know what department understand, what we understand, what corporate understand, and what court understand. Everything is going to be different. Because something that you may feel that ordinary course of business, which I may feel that is not ordinary course of business. Because right now, if you see, no corporate is doing a single business. They will be doing some other business also. In fact, the new companies that permit the corporate house to engage into many businesses, not only single business. In fact, you can see that there's a provision in 196 and 197 related to Schedule 3, where it says, Schedule 4, where it says that a person can be the chairman as well as the key managerial person, CFO, whatever it is, when the company does, do not engage into multiple business. That means indirectly they are permitting us to do multiple business. Under the new Companies Act, the companies are permitted to do the multiple business. So we need not to restrict our memorandum into the particular business, we can do multiple business. In that case, we have to wait and see that which is going to be our ordinary course of business. Probably they mean to say NBFC. They can directly come out and say these provisions are not applicable to NBFC because their ordinary course of business is to provide a loan and give guarantee. What similar kind of activities only. But putting these kind of words, it will not be utilized by any of the corporate. The same example which our previous speaker also deliberated under section 188, where it's used the word normal course of business, arm's length transaction. How to prove all this? And whose best judgment that it should be ordinary course of business and it should be arm's length. Something I feel that for me it's arm's length, for you it may not arm's length. So it is a debatable one, but the same language is used in section 185 also. And again, as I told you that a loan made by the holding company should only one subsidiary company. They are very careful. Now, of course, they are relaxing. Same way, any guarantee given or security provided by holding company in respect of any loan made to only one subsidiary company. So, security also, right now, as of the law is, that is made to the only one subsidiary company. And the third point, very importantly, any guarantee given or security provided by the holding company in respect of loan by any bank or financial institution to its subsidiary company. You can find the difference. It is there in the rule. Chapter 12 says that it came out with chapter 12 has come out with the provisions relating to section 182 up to section 188, where it came out with the exemption for 185 as well as 186. As I deliberated earlier, 186 has a provision. 185 there was no provision, but still the rule has come out. But the rule has given an exemption for these three categories, where the loan they are exempting only one subsidy. But the guarantee, I am really not able to appreciate the difference between 2 and 3, except only one and third with the subsidy, not only one. Any guarantee given or security provided by holding company in respect of any loan made by whom? If you see the third provision, it's very clearly said made by any bank. But here they are silent. That means they mean to say that other than bank. So we have to deem it like this. Any guarantee given or security provided by a holding company in respect of any loan made other than bank. Can we interpret that way and understand? We have to wait and see, and we can even try it also and see what response we are getting. Because the third paragraph, it's very clear in the third exemption, any guarantee given or security provided by a holding company in respect of loan made by bank and financial institution to its subsidiary company. That means if it is a subsidiary to be exempted, the loan should have been taken from bank or financial institution. Pardon? But it's appearing as subsidiary only. No, it's in fact I checked with the rule also, final rule also. It's appearing this way only. First two things it says only one subsidy. Third, very specifically there is a subsidy. That means if the subsidy, if it is taking a loan from bank and financial institution, still the holding company can give guarantee. That's what the law intends as of now. Probably in the draft notification diluted. We have to wait and see. But I don't think directly they are diluting. They are diluting the entire section, the applicability of entire section. They have not pointed out any provisions of the rule or act and diluting. They are diluting the entire section per se, provided they have a prescribed, as I told you that, they should not have taken a loan more than twice the paid up capital. And there should not be any body corporate investment also. And in case of contravention, what is that? The company with the fine 5 lakhs and to 25 lakhs. As it is, how Mr. Santanakrishnan earlier said, we have to remove 10 only, otherwise the entire Companies Act cannot be diluted. Because everywhere runs into lakhs only. You can't find anything less than lakh. Only in a few sections only you can find 50,000 rupees, up to 50,000. And almost 90% of sections, it runs into lakhs only. And again, imprisonment up to 6 months or with a fine. So with approval of the court, we can compound the offence. It's only or, imprisonment or fine. So it's a compoundable with approval of court. Going to the loan and investment. In fact, this only very importantly I want to share, I want to show you the section of the particular section in the Companies Act, section 186, where I want to deliberate on the basic difference that has got introduced under the Provision of Companies Act 2013. In fact, if you happen to see the old Act 1956, section 370A heading is intercorporate loans and investments, etc. You can see the heading of the section under the old Act 1956. It says intercorporate loans, investments, etc. So it basically defines the section itself drafted only for intercorporate loans. That means it should be between two companies. That's why we call it as ICD. In a simple terminology, we say ITC, intercorporate loan. But surprisingly, in the new Act, that concept is taken away under the section 186. The section appears loans and investments. It's silent about intercorporate under the new Act. This is the equivalent section of section 370A of the Companies Act 1956, section 186. When 370A, if you can see, it says intercorporate loans and investment. When you see 186, it says loans and investment. What is the big difference? There is a big difference. We'll deliberate that. A company shall, unless otherwise prescribed, make investment through not more than 2 layers of investment company. I really not able to understand. In fact, we are not here to criticize the government. Of course, we are here to understand the provisions and see how it can be complied. Because we got bored about pointing out grey areas. So many deliberation is done on that point. So let us try to see that how to survive in this the new Act, probably the changed Act, probably what are the changes going to come with that scenario. See here, if you see the subsection 1 of section 186. With what idea they brought, really we don't know. It says, a company shall, unless otherwise prescribed, make investment through not more than 2 layers of investment company. That means the subsection 1 talks about investment companies alone. It's not applicable to normal companies because investment companies will be deemed as NBFC. There cannot be an investment company without being an NBFC. It will automatically fall within the ambit of NBFC. That means subsection 1 can be separated from the entire section 186. And we need to read too much subsection 1 and confuse with the rest of the section. Because subsection, in fact, on the exemption, it says, at the end, if you see the last subsection, that's what I wanted you to show the section so that you will appreciate what is the change has got introduced. And the last subsection says, the provision of section 186, except subsection 1, shall not be applicable to banking, insurance, power company. That means subsection 1 is applicable to them. So they deem it to say that what they deeming is that the subsection 1, whoever is investing, keeping an investment company as a layer, they cannot invest with 2 more layers. You need not to further, you need not to go into the section at all. See that what is paid up, what is free reserve, whether 60% is achieved, PUC approval is taken, bank, no, nothing. I need not to check anything when I am dealing with the subsection 1. Subsection 1 is very clear. It very clearly said investment companies investment companies, other companies, and non-banking, other than non-banking companies cannot be fall within the category of investment companies. Investment companies by default it will be a NBFC company. It will come within the purview of the Reserve Bank of India. So we can separate subsection 1 of section 186 and see and read it separately and understand which is applicable to investment company, and start reading from subsection 2 which is applicable to all other companies. With this basic idea we have to move further. And what it says here is very important here. Loan and investment, companies shall give any loan to any person or other body corporate. In fact, you will be surprised to read the old Companies Act, section 378, where you can't see the word any person. You can only see the word body corporate. I have seen entire 378. What is the logic between the change? Is that anything is modified and anything is added or anything is taken out? In fact, they introduced, in addition to the body corporate, person. That is a major. In fact, someone who does not understand this difference, they can't understand real intent of these 186. And what is the real changes taking place in 186? What is the real difference between the 370TA and 186? Then it means to say, now it is not that for only between body corporate that we have to see the provisions of section 186. Earlier we used to see provisions of section 370TA and we used to comply the provisions process prescribed in the 370TA only when the investment or loan made or guarantee given to other body corporate. It no longer exists now. Under the new act, a company need not to give only to other body corporate. It's no longer restricted to corporate. That means it is extended to any person. That's what the interpretation can be given. Because there is no definition for person under the entire act. In fact, many places the word person is used, but certain places, for example, section 185, a person who is interested. So there they put what are the categories are falling under those person interested. But there are many places where the Companies Act only say person. Who is not included in that person? Where is the definition can be derived? Can I borrow the definition from Income Tax Act? Because it has got a big list, HUF and everything is covered in that. Can I take that? Or can I take definition from General Class Act, which starts with inclusive? That starts with inclusive. Person includes company, this, that, everything is covered in that. That means, can I presume, or can we presume, that a company can extend loan, investment, guarantee, not only to the corporate, to any person, provided we follow the procedure prescribed. In fact, the entire act, the Companies Act 2013, customized in such a way, corporate should not do anything. Recording is also happening. I really want to understand this is the real intention of the government, that they want to give a free hand to the company, that they can give to any person, whether it is a loan, guarantee, or security. So I can offer loan to the person, individual. So that's what here the question. In fact, there is no changes in the draft notification also in that 186. So then as of now the legal question would be that under the new provision 186, a company can offer to another body corporate and any person what? Guarantee. As I told you already, there is no definition for loan, guarantee, security, entire Companies Act. So we have to understand, we have to introspect something and we have to understand and come out with some meaning. What is loan, what is guarantee, what is security, with the settled judgments or settled cases. As of now, we will move on with this clarity that section 186 now permits not only offer loan to the corporate to any person, unless something else notified changing this particular question. Okay. Company shall give any loan to any person or body corporate, give any guarantee or provide security in connection with the loan to any body corporate or person. Again, everywhere the body corporate, the person is added. Acquired by way of subscription and purchase otherwise the security, here body corporate loan is coming. Then what is the procedure? Procedure is usual, not big difference. Here the one difference is earlier we used to see under 370TA, paid up capital and free reserve, 60%, or 100% of free reserve. Now security premium account is added to that. Now we have to see 60% of paid up capital, free reserve definition is in place. Under the definition, Companies Act 2013. Under the old Act, there is no definition for free reserve. Under the new Act, there is a definition in place. So now we have to see the limit 60% of paid up capital, free reserve, and security premium account. Securities premium is no longer share premium account. So that means everything which is to be created, whether it should be parked under security premium account, that we have to wait and see. That can be debated for a long time. Because earlier it used to be share premium account. Section 78 earlier used to define share premium, not security premium. Of course, the amendment came after that. Now it's continued as a security premium account. So we have to see that 60% of paid up capital, free reserve, and security premium account is not breached. If it is breached, then we have to take a special resolution. If it is not breached, it is sufficient if you take a board approval approved by all the directors present. Okay? And there should not be any default in the installment. If there is a default in the installment, in fact, that itself is a $1 billion question. Default in what sense? Installment means whatever prescribed between the, what is the agreement, as per the agreement entered between the bank and company, in what way default can be considered a default if we don't repay the installment. So all this, of course, the same language is used on the old act itself. So we are familiar, we are used to that language, so we can continue with the same understanding how we have moved under the old provision. 370. Nothing there to deliberate on the same aspects. And there are two parameters prescribed, only 60% of paid up capital. As I told you, paid up capital, free reserve, and security premium, or 100% of free reserve and security premium, which is more. If it is more, then we have to go for special discussions. Here the language uses prior approval by member by passing special resolution specifying if exists as specified limit. In fact, 180 if you see, it's not a prior approval. It says with the consent of the shareholders. There is no prior approval. Here it's a prior approval. Here very importantly that the disclosure in the financial statement regarding full particulars of the loan given, investment made, guarantee or security given. In fact, here it is not reproduced. I want to see the sections. Section 4, I believe, in the section 180. It says that lending company, the company which is offering a guarantee or security, they have to ensure they are disclosing the purpose for which the recipient is taking, not the purpose I am giving. I have to disclose in my annual report, as long as I am giving the loan or security or guarantee, I have to mention in my company report the purpose, the recipient for what he is taking, loan or is taking, security or investment. It says the word is recipient. So the purpose of the recipient I should disclose in the annual report. It becomes the responsibility of the lending company. And another important new provision has got introduced here. Of course, there is no default, we need not to take a prior approval of a public financial institution. Earlier, there used to be a language where it says that you should not be less than the bank rate, lending rate. That language was used earlier. Now, they came out with a new parameter whereby they said at a rate of interest not lower than prevailing yield of 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year government security. That means our interest rate should not be less than the interest rate that a government security can fetch, provided the tenure of the loan should be so close to the tenure of the government security that which fits that interest rate. That means now we have to see all that LIBOR, all that things. Now we have to see what is the interest that is being given by the government security, to see that we are charging interest closest to the government securities. That to the tenure also should match. Should be close to that tenure. Because there is a default in deposit, repayment of deposit interest, section 186, we can't provide loan. As a standard restriction is there. These are registered, these are the particulars to be maintained, loan given, guarantee given. Of course, now a rule has come out that should be authenticated by CS or any authorized person. Of course, it's diluted. We can authorize anybody, whoever in the company. And can be maintained electronically. Here the important thing, in fact, many of us would not have understood the impact of this. In fact, there is a provision where all listed company under the new act, it is mandated by the rule that they have to compulsorily convert their physical register into e-register. In fact, the act, it says the company may, but the rule says company shall. So now, for all listed companies, it is mandated that they have to convert their physical register into e-register. It's not that Excel format. What they mean to say e-register, the e-register that has to be converted, whereby you should facilitate signature of the person whoever ought to have signed or supposed to sign under the new act. For example, under section 301, Register of Directors, contracts and interested directors contract, where it occurs, I have not started my deposit at all. Time up. The slip given right from the morning, should have given, then I would have got more time. Fine. Anyway, I'll try to wrap up. Particularly deposit, I don't want to miss out because there are more things to deliberate. And fine, this is a point which I want to, it's not that electronically in the sense we can't, and we can understand that electronically, okay, now accounts also can be maintained electronically. No, that is different, this is different. Now, there is a mandate under the new act, all listed companies should convert their physical register into compulsory as a e-register, which provide DAC, that means e-signature. That means the person who is going to develop the program really going to be richer than anybody. So, because the now mandatory should be converted. So that only the rule mandates can be maintained electronically. Electronically, it's not that the Excel form. It says that electronically, where it should facilitate signature also. And contravention, I'll quickly move on the contravention. And these are the exemptions is given that only one subsidiary is exempted. Same thing which 185 there was exemption given in the rule. Same way under 186 also, in this scenario, exemption is given. Loan guarantee security products is only one subsidiary company, joint venture company, everywhere it's coming. In fact, joint venture, even accounts also section 129 and consolidation 130. It talks about 188, 128, 129, consolidation of subsidiary and associate, that includes JV also, joint venture also. Same way here also again you could able to see that language joint venture company. Joint venture company, is there any parameter? At least an associate 20% is there. 20% either you sharehold, you have a shareholding or you control by an agreement. Okay, that is how we can debate what is agreement. That and all different deliberation we can have. What is agreement? My email communication will amount to a contract. All that we can see. I can make by one email. I can make one company as my associate company. Same way, one other email I can rescind the contract that we are rescinding our contract, because our Indian Contract Act it even permits oral contract also. How could it can't accept email contract? Okay. So now the position has come, it's more improved now. Okay. Now, joint venture company also, if you can provide, it is exempted. In fact, I don't know what are the companies, category of companies will be deemed as a joint venture company. If it is sufficient, if I say put an agreement, 2-page agreement, saying that joint venture agreement and 2 parties sign, it will become a joint venture company. Government has to come out and clarify. If securities of only one subsidiary company is acquired by holding company, as usual, it is exempted only here. Company shall disclose all those details in the financial statements. In fact, this only I wanted to give permission. Can you take my PPT? Because this is coming